connects because I just hit it. We're going to see if it connects.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't want to do some research now.
What's going on?
We lost something.
We are live. We are live, and so let's tell you what. Let's get into some of this conversation about this.
Yeah, you and me.
Yeah, this big event that's coming up. So, and ironically, this event is of course, the Spence Crawford fight. People are deeming this fight to be the fight of the century. Maybe for this day and age in this group, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's going to line up to be all of this? What you think it's going to live up to the hype? And do you think that that's kind of a reach to say the fight of the century? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's a good fight for boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a reach. I think people have just been waiting for it for a long time, and so their expectations are a little bit overblown, maybe.
Yeah.
But I hope they're not disappointed.
Right.
Because I have a feeling the fight's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
They're both really good fighters, undoubtedly. Don't even have to say that, right?
Right.
I just hope it doesn't turn out like, the last fight of the century with Pacquiao and Mayweather, which left a lot of people a little disappointed because it turned out to be such a technical battle. People were expecting more fireworks. What do you think? Could that happen again here? Crawford's a technician, but Spence is pretty flashy.
Yeah. Spence is straightforward, and he's gonna walk in. He's gonna most definitely he's gonna be looking to push the fight and bring the fight to Crawford. I think Crawford is more strategy. He kind of lets the fight come to him, and I haven't really. I ain't gonna lie to you and say I've watched a lot of Crawford fighting. But, I ain't gonna lie, it's funny as people say, it's funny that people compare this fight to Hagler-Hearns. And we all see that famous footage of, what was that, one of the best three, was it a 3-round fight?
Yeah, 3 rounds.
The best 3-round fights.
2.5.
Yeah, to ever take place. So, can this fight live up to be beyond the level of a 3-round fight like that one did turned out to be? But Crawford kind of reminds me kind of stylish wise of a Hearns in regards, in some sense. I don't know if it's his presence, but he kind of has a Hearns type of physique, from a physique standpoint.
And in a way, he's a bit like Hagler, too, in that he's really got the fundamentals down where he can terrorize you with just the fundamentals,
You talking about?
Yeah. He's got the real fundamentals that and that's what makes him so good, is because he's paid attention to the craft. And he can really rip you up with just basic stuff,
Yeah.
And in a way, that's what Hagler was like for a lot of his career. But when he fought Hearns, he threw it all out the window and just came out slugging. But
yeah, man, and that's the fight I judged Hagler on. I saw that fight. I didn't see the fight in its entirety from the, I hadn't really been, to be honest with you, I was a Sugar Ray Leonard fan. So, everybody in the house was Ray Leonard. He was the star. He was the kind of the Floyd Mayweather of the era. So everybody else almost didn't matter. I learned about those guys a little bit after, of course I was younger then, but I learned about those guys, Hagler-Hearns. I caught up with them after their time and went back and watched old footage of Hearns. And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know Hearns was really putting on the work like that. I didn't know Hagler. Hagler looked like, I didn't really know the history of those two guys like I knew Sugar Ray Leonard. Because I remember watching him growing up, and he was the Flash. So, of course, that's what we were attracted to as kids. We were attracted to the Flash and the Dash. Ray Leonard had the commercials. He had all that stuff going on. So, so he was kind of boxing's face, the face of boxing.
Yeah, he sure was. He sure was.
Hagler-Hearns, though, was the fight that everybody heard about and talked about. And for whatever reason, that when I saw that fight, those 3 rounds, I said, wow, that was the craziest and best fight I ever seen in my life. I don't think this fight is going to do that. What that happened, I don't think it will. I think it's going to be some fireworks. I think it's going to, of course, it's going to be some, I think it's going to be some fireworks. It's going to be some pressure. And, yeah, it's going to hit a moment. It's going to have some moments in this fight. I think most definitely, because those fighters are unique in their style, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this style will make this fight, because they say styles make fights, right?
Yeah, how do you think their styles match up? I mean, you've got Spence. He's, you'd say he was the quicker, little bit flashier fighter, and Crawford is a more straight up technical fighter, maybe a counterpuncher to some degree. How do you think it's going to play out? Is it going to be a long fight? Do you think there'll be knockdowns? Do you think it'll be a strategic kind of a chess match? How do you see it going?
Well, I'll say this. This is the great thing I like about the fight is it's the style. These are 2 different styles, 2 unorthodox fighters, totally different styles. Crawford is kind of a slow starter. He kind of he kind of figures you out, tries to figure you out, and the first few rounds, which I'm gonna come back to pin that, which he's been historically known to do in his fights. I mean, he's a slow starter. Spence comes out and tries to engage you in the first rounds. He's the opposite. He tries to kind of see what you got early first, and to kind of give you a sign that, hey, you're going to be in a fight, like I'm going to press you, So I see this fight going the distance. I see it's going to be some moments, and I said I think there will be a knockdown. And it could very well be 2, but I do see a knockdown in the 9th round. And I think it could come from either fighter, but I do think that Spence, I'm weighing more towards Spence because I know Spence keeps pressure and he's been known he can take a punch. I've seen Spence take some hard shots, and I've seen him also deliver hard shots. So it's one thing to take a hard shot, but also to be able to take a hard punch and then also to be able to deliver a hard punch. Those are 2 combinations in boxing to me that change the game. Because you can have a hard punch and a weak chin, and and then it could be over. That hard punch don't mean anything. But if he can take and absorb Crawford's power, then that could be what I call the change. Because I've seen Crawford take a punch and I've seen Spence take a punch. And to me, I've seen Crawford get rocked. a couple of times by a couple of fighters that one Gamboa and then another was a journeyman type of fighter. Nobody significant. I seen him get caught. I saw him get caught. And
do you think Crawford is a little bit susceptible because he is the kind of fighter who likes to get into you a little bit? He likes to, you know, be a little bit combative. He likes to mix it up a little, so he might get hit. Do you think that's an issue?
Well, you know what? I'd say this. I see that more from Spence being more of the engaging fighter. Spence is the one that really pushes forward and goes into the rock'em sock'em style. You know, he wants his lick back. I call it, he's the lick back king, meaning if you hit him, he's coming back to get his lick back. Now,
do you think Spence has the quicker hands?
I wouldn't say Spence has the quicker hands. I don't think he has the quicker hands. I think Crawford has the quicker hands in this fight. I think he has the speed. However, I think Spence has the timing. I think Crawford has timing too, great timing, but I've not seen, but I don't know if Crawford can take a Spence punch. I don't know if he can take a Spence punch because while Crawford has a knockout, he does have a great knockout resume.
Yeah, there's. I remember what Larry Merchant used to say during his days on HBO, and he would say, "At some point, the fight will come down to I hit you and you hit me, and then what happens? You know, who can take it? Who can land more effectively? I think it's going to go the distance, like you said." And it's going to be a close fight, I think, and it might be one of those fights where people are not happy with the decision. You know, it might be that close.
Yeah, if it's close, of course, that most definitely would be a fight where some people are not going to be happy with the decision. And
you know, we've had a lot of those in the last few years. You know, it just happens a lot. Where, one guy seems to be landing hard shots, but the other guy is more elusive and he's flashier maybe, and then it goes the distance. And
that usually comes from, that energy usually comes from the fans, because, of course, fans pay more attention to that guy and what that guy is doing versus the other guy. So they're going to count, of course, they're going to count the points versus they guy, the moments that they guy had versus the other guys. So it's going to always look like they're going to always be disappointed. Fans are always going to be disappointed with the decision if it's a close decision.
Yeah, and fights always look different live than on TV. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but I know that when I used to attend a lot of fights. I was writing for the Ring magazine and ESPN, and I got to a lot of fights. And when I would see the replay the next day on HBO or whatever, when they replayed it, it was almost a different event. Yeah, very strange. Because when you're watching live, things happen fast. If a guy gets hit, he gets rocked. When you see it live, it looks really dynamic, like he's been knocked across the ring. But then when you see it on television, the same fight, when you see it the next day, it doesn't look that bad. It's not not as explosive, because you're home now. You're taken away from it. You're not in that live atmosphere where everything is more explosive. Oh
yeah. I've been to a few, and you're absolutely right. And but this one is going to be a pretty interesting fight. I think it's going to be close. I gave it a 7-5.
And you're leaning towards Spence.
Yeah, 7-5 Spence. The reason why I'm doing that is because I know Crawford is a slow starter, and if he can't, I don't know if he's going to be able to afford taking some, trying to figure out the first 3 rounds against Spence, and then try to catch up, because Spence keeps it. He is a pressure fighter. I haven't seen Spence really take any rounds off. I say that. Maybe
now, something I always think about is at this point in their respective careers, who do you think is coming in as the more hungry fighter? Who wants it more? Do you ever wonder about that?
Yeah, I most definitely think Crawford wants it. I think he's the fighter he's the one who's been pushing the fight, pushing. Well, he's the one who looks like he's been the one trying to get the fight. He's the one who's been chasing the fight, And it kind of puts me in the mindset of Roy Jones Tarver. Tarver had been asking for a fight against Roy Jones, and when he finally got it, we saw the performance, and nobody really took Tarver seriously.
Yeah, he was always in the shadow.
Yeah, but the chaser, for some reason, always comes off as the hungrier fighter, and that's why you can never count. I've seen fights where the chaser came in who was more hungry. Of course, the person who was hungrier. Sometimes, actually, they came out on top as a result of that.
And Crawford is a little bit older, isn't he, than Spence?
I'm not sure.
I think he is.
I think he may be, but I say this: they probably match up in maybe a year or two, maybe. But I think most definitely, though, I think that Crawford is going to be. He's a sneak. To me, he has a sneaky power. He has a sneaky power. He has kind of like of course, Michael Spinks.
Yeah.
Crawford has kind of a Spinks type, kind of a Michael Spinks type setup sometimes when I see him fight, because he kind of has power, but it's sneaky power, and he can put punches together pretty good,
Yeah, he relies in a way the way Spinks did. He relies a lot on timing and leverage, being in the right spot, and you wonder if Spence will allow him to get that leverage and that timing, or is Spence too busy?
Right. And my thing is, Spence likes to come forward, but it's going to be who can draw who into whose style, into whose environment. You know what I mean? Like, can Spence, because Spence was a counter, so he engages. When in the fight, Spence, I've seen him in several fights when it looks like he's taking shots. He's taking them, but he's taking the shots from the guys, but he's getting hit. Now, I'm telling you, it's hard to gauge Crawford's power, but I know Crawford has power because he has the knockout. Right. I don't know if Spence has been hit. That's the other question. Has Spence been hit by? He's never been hit by Terence Crawford. Maybe anybody that's kind of in the same regimen as Terence Crawford. So how will he take a Terence Crawford punch? But I've seen Spence take harder punches than I've seen Crawford, and that's why I'm saying I've seen Spence take harder punches than what Crawford has had to take, and I've seen Spence not be phased or survive or just kind of. I mean, even the guy the guy who had the widest open shot you could have had that should have put him on the floor. It knocked him backwards, but it didn't put him on the ground. And then Spence, of course, he wasn't hurt because he eventually covered the next 2 rounds. I mean, and that was Ugas.
Yeah.
Ugas got a great punch on him when Spence was distracted, guards down, everything, and that was one of the best. I mean, he took the shot. And I've seen him take other shots. Kell Brook, he took a lot of punches, and it's just going to be a matter of who can take whose punch. But I haven't seen Crawford really take a punch like Spence had.
Doing.
Is she with us or not?
She in and out.
Wow. You know what happens in
It won't stay in.
She's playing with us now.
Mm.
Sometimes in boxing, it's always interesting to me. The guy who is better at his own style can prevail. You know, like if the counterpuncher is so good at being a counterpuncher, he can dominate. Even if the other guy is very good at being, you know, a sort of slugger or a stick and move kind of fighter, the guy who is better at his style can do a lot of damage. I remember guys like Alexis Arguello. He was like that. Do you remember Alexis Arguello? He was such a professional at his style, you know, that it almost like it didn't matter what you did. He knew that his style was going to come out on top, you know. He was just so good at it. I mean, until he fought Aaron Pryor, and then he was just out of his weight class and couldn't handle it. But before that, when he was fighting guys like Ray Mancini and Jim Watt, you know, that Arguello was just so confident in his style that you couldn't get to him, you know.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think about Crawford. Is he so confident in his style and his strategy that he can offset the pressure that Spence might apply on him? It is an interesting fight. It's you know, I can't really make a pick. I know it's going to go the distance. I usually lean towards speed. The quicker guy usually can prevail. But in this one, it's a tough one. I can't. I wouldn't want to be, you know, if someone held a gun to my head and said make a pick. I don't know if I could do it. To me, it's a very close fight, and that's why it's such a big deal for boxing fans.
Yeah, this is a major fight for boxing fans. I think the fans are going to get their money's worth. I think that I think the build-up has been great. I was really surprised that they just made this fight kind of out of nowhere a few months ago. I was expecting this fight maybe to take place later on in the year, and I was kind of worried about how the promo would go with that short time period, because usually a fight like this, it takes time they want to give it time to go ahead and build up the excitement. But to see the energy that as soon as the fight was announced and see the energy behind it, you would think this fight was announced in January as opposed in April.
It could be that they've been talking about this fight for so many years now that you know, a lot of the promotion had already been done. A lot of the buildup has been done.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you this. I don't think fans have really gotten a chance to really get familiar with Terence Crawford as they have Errol Spence, and a lot of it has to do with promotions, because of course Bob Arum, while he's been around a long time and promoting, I don't think that Terence Crawford has gotten the promotions in his career that Errol Spence has gotten. And I feel like if Terence Crawford had received the type of promotions that Errol Spence has had, has gotten, I think that you will have two.
All he was doing was fighting within the PBC. He wasn't fighting outside the PBC.
Right, but I'm saying even outside the PBC, but I'm talking about promotion.
Did nobody in the PBC want to fight Bud?
Right.
They talk about it, but they go around it.
Well, I get it, but I was just saying what I'm saying to Bud's credit, he hasn't gotten the credit that he should have gotten because as a result of his promotions and a lot of fans and a lot of people are not as really familiar with Crawford as they are with Spence. I think that Crawford could have more star power than Spence coming into this fight had he had the type of promotions that Spence has had in his career. And but Crawford has most definitely put the ground game in, and he's went up the back road with it, and he came up the back stairwell, and now he's on the floor.
But that's all fine and dandy because they called out Bob Arum before under Hagler when he was with Hagler, right? And they said, and he called him out, and I think he went to the magazine, the newspaper that says, hey, you know what? I'm unsatisfied. They're taking major cuts. And that's the difference that I say that's one of the major differences in these two fights where they took control of a lot of their promotion. Back in Hagler, as you point out in your book, Hagler called it out, but it's they still had that relationship. Can you expound upon that? By the way, thank you everybody for your patience. We are actually at the gym. 402. I had this big backdrop of Bud, but we had. I wish you guys could have seen it, but we had to come in the room where there's some Wi-Fi so we can get on and talk. And I appreciate you guys for holding down the conversation. We've been listening, chomping at the bit, especially Donnie, because he's a Bud Crawford guy over here, and. Every time Trot was making a comment, he just said, "Is this thing on? Unmute me." But I want you to expound on that when Hagler called it out, because he did.
Called out. Well, talking about when he called Bob Arum out on the promo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Hagler and Arum had a unique relationship because Arum knew Hagler was special, so he loaded a lot of money on Hagler just to keep him under his contract. And Hagler he was getting money, but he wasn't getting the sort of superstar treatment. It was Ray Leonard's period. Yeah.
Right. You pointed out they were paying for expenses to keep him happy, and they would send him on trips to Hawaii. Right.
Yeah. Arum and Top Rank, they did a lot to try to keep Hagler just under their contract because they knew at some point there were big fights out there for him. It took a long time. He spent a lot of years fighting guys like Mustafa Hamsho and guys, Tony Simpson, He was not fighting the superstars. He was fighting contenders. The superstars didn't want to come up to middleweight. They were mostly in the welterweight class, But Hagler and Arum, it was a prickly relationship. And at times, Hagler was upset. And it worked out in the end. It worked out because he did get a big fight with Duran. He got a big fight with Hearns, and he got a big fight with Leonard. So it happened at the very end of his career. So hopefully this isn't the end for Crawford. Hopefully he's got a few more years to go and a few more big fights.
Speaking of Duran, I'm happy you mentioned that because that could take us into a whole nother conversation and that's another dynamic I want to get into because they actually, Hagler and Hearns went on a 14-city tour, whereas Bud and Errol Spence went on a 2-city tour. And one of the things of them going back and forth was to deal with Duran. Like, I think Hagler went 15 rounds with him, and then Hearns went two or three rounds. And Hagler said, Hearns, you owe me. but that's the similarity in what we're seeing today in the fight that's with Bud Crawford And Errol, when Errol fought KO and when he fought Sean Porter, the same dynamics was, hey, I warmed him up for you guys, or I beat him down so you can get that easy win. You owe me. So it's amazing how that overlap is happening, which is why I understand on my flyer, I said Derek James called it out. And I know I'm saying Derek James in this studio too loud, but anyway, he didn't call it out. He said he likened this fight to Hagler-Hearns because, and when you read this book, War, I mean, you guys, I'm gonna have a discount. I'm gonna do another discount when we do our live on Monday. But that book, War, it was so amazing and so timely to revisit that whole conversation. So go ahead and expound on that 14-city tour versus the 2-city tour and how they banter each other going back and forth.
I think it was a 22-city tour.
22? Okay. I thought
each guy had their own jet. They even argued about who had the jet, but that was Aram's idea. I say in the book that Hagler-Hearns was really Bob Arum's masterpiece of his career, because he had a guy in Hearns who at the time was considered a little bit erratic. Sometimes he was dynamic and explosive, but he also had hand injuries. Sometimes he couldn't really get the big knockout when he wanted it. But then when he knocked out Duran, suddenly it seemed like this guy's a monster, you know. But with Hagler was a guy who had been around a long time, but the public never really warmed up to him. It was just, you know, they all loved Ray Leonard. They loved guys like Ray Mancini. But Hagler, for some reason, maybe his personality was too gruff. The public didn't quite warm up to Hagler. So it was Arum who brought them together and said, I'm going to take you around the country. I'm going to shove you down everybody's throat. By the time this fight gets going, everyone is going to know Hearns and everyone's going to know Hagler. So that was why they went from, you know, the East Coast to the West Coast, hitting every major city. Nowadays, fighters generally do 1 or 2 press conferences, and that's the end of it. And they rely a lot on social media to make noise. But back then it was like every morning you'd pick up your newspaper and you'd wonder, well, what did Hagler and Hearns do today? It went on for a few weeks. They were just hitting every city, and some kind of an insult would go by, or something silly would happen, or they would pick on each other about who was going to, you know, get to the parking lot and get in the limo first, that kind of thing. They would argue over everything. And I remember I was a kid, and every morning I'd pick up the paper wanting to know, what were these guys doing? You know, what was going on in Washington, or what was going on in LA, wherever they happened to be. It became like your daily fix. You'd want to know, what are Hagler and Hearns doing today? That tour was brilliant. It was a brilliant idea. And I don't think it's really been done since then. I know that sometimes Mayweather and Pacquiao would do big event type publicity like that, but nobody has ever really done that city by city tour. That was a really unique thing.
Yeah, I think the last one is funny, and I think you're right. The last time I saw a fight campaign maybe similar to that nature was when Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor did the press conferences. And I don't know how many cities it was, but I know they did it over in UK. They did you over here in New York. They hit maybe 5-6 major cities. I think they probably collectively did about 8, maybe 8 to 10 cities. But you're right, though. I've not seen or I don't recall any fight of the recent times doing those type of promos, and that's probably.
And I think we underestimated, because right now they have Showtime access, right? So they have all access. And so that kind of took the place of a city tour. But I think to me, when I'm examining things, and I talked to Donnie about this too, how I go around like areas in Texas and I ask them about the fight. And it's not a lot what fight. It's like who, what. So Jermaine brought this up on the last call Monday. The pageantry is not there. So I think that more people that should know about the fight, especially in Texas, don't, because I do questions and ask and just kind of get a pulse. But in Omaha, you can go to every other location, and it's not a soul that don't know about this.
We're gonna go live Saturday.
Huh? We are going to go live. Yeah, we are going to go live Saturday. Not that I love Texas, y'all. Don't.
And we can go around and do surveys, ask people questions.
Yeah, Jermaine, you can go. You can do that post yourself. You can go wherever and ask people, do they know about the fight?
I'm gonna tell you this. I don't know what polls you've been checking down here in Texas, but I can tell you, everybody and their mama, kids, cats, dogs.
But when I say that, when I go to a fast food place,
know about this fight, and I'm looking to anticipate this fight, and I'm telling you, the blood is flowing, so it's time to get going. But
I agree. But when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about if I go to a Papa John's, if I go to a McDonald's drive-thru or any type of drive-thru. And those people know about it? I've been doing that here, and they know about it, and everybody's excited.
We could do it live down.
But not to take away from Texas. Texas is a big area, so it falls in our particular area. But I'm saying what I'm going back to is, sometimes that city tour is the one we rely so much on. Social media, the internet, but sometimes if you bring it back to the city, like how fortunate if it was at Dallas Fort Worth, if they went to the AT&T Stadium, how many people and everybody's streaming, taking their phones to that place, because how do you go from the West Coast, and I complain about this in the book industry, how do you go from the West Coast to the East Coast and everybody missed the biggest state in the country? Texas should have had. I don't care if it was in Austin or whatever. We should have had that Fanford. They should have made that stop here. And that's the difference in what they did in terms of the Hagler-Hearns. If we're going to compare those two eras, that we rely so much on social media, but we forget that touching people and connecting people is probably a high greater benefit. That's what I'm seeing right now.
Well, you know what else has happened since that time in the 80s, Danya, is boxing has kind of lost the casual fan. Boxing fans, the only people who watch boxing now are boxing fans, whereas back in the era of Hagler, there might be a casual fan who would say, oh, I heard about this fight, I'm going to check it out. They were not hardcore fans, but they heard about it so much, they thought, well, let's tune in. Let's see what happens. And I think boxing has stopped catering to just the sort of average guy on the street. I think they've lost a little bit of that touch.
And maybe because the heavyweight division, all divisions in boxing, for the most part, right, were cracking during those times. From all the weight division had a significant champion, right, or present.
And also, there were more Americans. There were more American fighters in each weight class. They were fighting on TV all the time, and the major networks.
Every Saturday.
ABC, NBC, Sports World. When we started getting a lot of fighters who didn't speak English, the network sponsors started to lose interest. They didn't want to invest in these non-American fighters. And that's how cable was able to come in. Cable said, oh, you don't want those guys? We'll take them. And so you started to see more boxing on cable. And that was sort of the beginning of the end of the casual fan, because it became too hard to keep track of where am I going to see boxing.
It's very true.
I think that's when HBO, if I remember read correctly in the book, that's when HBO picked up the pay-per-view. Was I think Hagler was one of the guys that they were, now we got the big Showtime, but that's when HBO had just came out, with with their pay-per-view, and Hagler was left on that. And I think the running thing at that time was lucky he got something. So it's just that whole disparity and the whole work that a boxer had to do in the 80s, which we're now 40 years from there, what 83 or something like that, if I know correct, 40 years from there, and how much has really totally changed, in terms of how we see boxing. And but Don, one thing I was tripping when you wrote about how they were trying to ban. He was also under an environment where they were trying to ban boxing, and I was like, oh my God, don't let me hear the ban word like they're doing books. So I had to liken that into like banning boxing, and then they're banning books. Like, it was crazy.
Oh yeah, the mid 80s, that was in my lifetime. That was the peak of people trying to ban boxing. They were having congressional meetings about it, because there was a lot of new information about the health hazards and the risks, and Muhammad Ali was now starting to show his signs of health problems. There were a lot of issues going on, and people wanted to ban boxing at that point. Of course, if people could make money at it, boxing wasn't going to go anywhere. But at that time, it was a real concern. Boxing was the networks were starting to pull out, and the medical association was trying to get it banned.
Yeah, and
was you muted all that time you were talking?
No, I wasn't. we are at the gym, y'all. We are on location for real. It is energy out here. We're in a little corner because there's so much energy in the gym, right?
Hey, give us the gym. Show us the atmosphere. Go ahead and pan the room and let us see.
Are we gonna go walking now? You want to give us some more juice?
Hit the pads.
Let's get some more juice, because I do want Don. This book is loaded. And this is something that we're not privy to. And I said, that's why I said, Bud said this. This is a quote from Bud. All this and everything, the energy, how epic it is. This is for the books. I said, whenever they use the book word, I'm all in. I'm all ears. And so we have to, it hasn't been uncovered yet, but I do want to dive into the financial. I think I heard Jermaine talk about it a little bit earlier. The financials being that they were given I guess their person was Hagler-Hearns 5.4 million, and 5 million. And then, and the crazy part, what you wrote in the book, and this is what we do today, oh, you can get more than that. You can get like 7.5 million. That's what they were talking about in a barber shop, right? But the thing is, like, how do we have those conversations in the barbershop that starts dominating negotiations? And so that's kind of when you look at those two, and I think they got 100,000 in traveling expenses or something like that. But when you look at those different negotiations, we don't know the size today of the financials. It'll probably come when all of our boxing authors start doing their researching and digging and looking at contracts. I don't know who's going to get the writing on this. I definitely hope somebody at Hagler Publications, because that's just my go-to. I love those guys, Kyle and all that. So I hope they would get the writing contracts that come out. But if you can expound, and Trot may know a little bit of, because he's probably done a lot of research in terms of finances, being that he's a money guy all the time.
You see, he had all his paperwork.
Oh, he did have all his paperwork, right?
Yeah, he was out doing his research.
Good.
No, he's gone.
Gonna go his paperwork. He's gonna go get his paperwork.
He's in the dark.
So Don, go ahead and expound on that while me and Donnie is in
money.
Talking about Hagler and Hearns money.
Yeah, the money, and we don't know what's the comparison today, but I'm sure it's true.
this fight though? Before you get into that, what are they making? Do you know, Donnie?
I really don't know.
That's a lot of speculation, but
It's
go ahead.
a lot of speculations. I know Bud offered him 25 mil, and he'd get 25 mil, and they can make the fight happen. I don't know.
Yeah,
he said that live.
It's interesting that you know, when Hagler and Hearns fought, their paychecks were a big part of the promotion.
Right.
You know, people would say, "Oh, he's getting $5 million." You know, that was a lot of money.
But he ain't really getting $5 million.
That's true too. But they would say,
because you figure you got to pay your trainers, you got to pay all your expenses, you know, and then you got to pay your taxes on it.
Sparring partners,
you know what I mean? So it's like you're gonna come out with a nice penny.
But yeah, they would use the payday as almost like a marketing tool. You know, they would say, "Oh, this guy's getting $5 million, and this guy's getting $5 million," and people respond to money when they hear about money. They their ears perk up.
It rains.
You know, they love it. But I don't think they've talked much about money with Crawford and Spence, have they?
I have not heard. I mean, there was some speculation early on in the banter that were going. Yep. They were going back and forth. There was Crawford was putting false information out.
Crawford,
being that he took a pay cut, he was willing to not even get guaranteed any money. I know that was
he said that because he wanted to make the fight happen.
Yeah, but that was not ever going to be a real.
All he wanted was some transparency. That's it.
That was an attention thing. Just to, I get it. But he was not. He would never take a fight for not being guaranteed. No fighter would ever take a purse not being guaranteed anything.
So I do have a lot of.
He said
it was to help sell the fight and to sell the hype. Yeah. Right.
I see a lot of comments here, and I don't know if Jermaine can see the comments to read some of the comments because again, we're in Omaha, Nebraska. Like you said, Jermaine, I think you might be on point with some of the cornfields, and I'm sorry.
I'm gonna send you some corn on Monday.
Yeah.
and you're gonna have to shuck it too.
And I'm gonna have to read some of James' comments.
I am gonna need some corn for that crawfish boil because crawfish boil got to have the corn in it. So thank you, Donnie. Send it to me. Send it so I can put
it. I'm having fish tonight. I'm going down on the Deuce into the fish stand and buy some fish.
Right. So
and we got some shark meat out here.
So let's keep that. Oh, good. That's great. So let me ask you this. So we got a Hagler-Hearns. So could this be a Hagler-Hearns too?
I don't really necessarily see it Hagler-Hearns because they're a little bit bigger. They was bigger.
Who?
Hagler-Hearns.
You think so?
They was middleweight. They was more middleweight.
Oh, you talking about the
So I see it more like a Leonard Hearns.
What's the name said? Okay.
A welterweight. When Leonard Hearns did it the first time.
Okay.
Because it was hype up to that fight because Hearns was coming off of I want to say Pepino Cuevas when he knocked him out, and Leonard was coming off of his win against Benitez. Or no, not Benitez.
And Duran.
Yeah.
And
Duran the second fight.
And they were both welterweight title holders. So that was very, very big fight.
It was a big fight. That's when they only had 2 belts though.
Remember, imagine that, and then people would say, "Why are there 2 belts? There should only be 1."
Right.
So you think the fight will go the distance, or will it? Will there be a stoppage? What do you think, Donnie?
I think in between. I think it's gonna go between 6 and 9. I think Bud gonna figure him out. It's like I heard Try saying earlier that. You don't think Bud can take his punch. You don't think Bud can take a punch. Bud can take a punch. Bud is more or less like like he said. You hit me, now I need to hit you back. You punch me, I'm punching you back, and I'm punching you harder. I don't think Spence going.
I don't think that's a fight that Bud needed. That would be a bad.
To be honest with you, I don't think he's gonna be able to hit him as flush as you think. You know, because Bud can slip a punch too, though. You know, Spence, he can slip a punch too, but he take punches too, though. He have a lot of openings.
He take punches. I said, Don.
I like it's a good fight though. I like the fight. My guy is just Bud. Your guy is Spence. You know, and now it's like we can keep talking about it and speculating what's gonna happen. Only thing we can worry about now is who's prepared when that first bell rings.
I want to say that I do want to read some of Pan African Designs.
What was it?
Yeah, James Bowser. James, we are in the studio, so and we're the Wi-Fi connection. We're working, so we can't bring a lot of people to the screen. But I think this is just still a power pack show, and it's going to be one of those shows that's going to be here and is making history because this whole fight is making history to me. But he said, you know, we talked a little bit about what we think about today's press, and it's just so different. I think we rely a lot on social media. Spence is about accumulation of punches to break his opponent down. That is.
But the thing is, it got to be a cumulative of punches that's connected. You know, you can throw a lot. You can throw a lot of punches and not connect. Look at how he fought Sean Porter. Sean Porter threw a lot of punches and didn't connect a lot of punches. So you can throw a cumulative of punches, but you got to be able to hit it. You got to be able to hit a moving target.
But Sean Porter came in there with a game plan. He knew he had to come there.
I understand that part, but what I'm saying is he threw a lot of punches though, but he missed a lot of punches.
Let's be real about it. Sean Porter was scared to get hit by Spence. He knew he had to come in there and make that fight sloppy and messy as possible, and do all that to get
right. That's what I'm saying. He threw a lot of punches and missed a lot of punches to avoid getting hit.
He was trying to make the fight messy as he could to kind of throw Spence off from him.
Actually, if Spence wouldn't have got that knockdown, that flash knockdown when his glove touched, I think it would have been a draw. Spence wasn't winning that fight to me.
It was I say this. That was probably that fight.
Even Kell Brook.
Kell Brook.
His eye was already messed up.
He broke Kell Brook's spirit.
His eye was already broke.
Kell Brook.
His eye was already broke.
He broke Kell Brook's spirit.
No, he broke his eye was already broke.
Here's a question. Here's a question that you can all weigh in on. It's the biggest fight of each guy's career. Yeah. Do you think either one will be affected by the magnitude of the event?
Possibility.
Go ahead.
But I think Bud's going in with a lot of confidence though.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I think Spence has fought in front of the bigger crowds. He's already going to be used to the atmosphere. Of course, fighting at Texas Stadium, and you sell out Cowboy Stadium, which holds 100,000. That's one of the 50, 60,000 people, 70,000 people. I think this is going to be the lights. I think Bud is going to be in the zone. It may have a little bit. I'll just say this: Spence will have the edge in that, but I don't see that really affecting Bud too much unless he comes out.
Not at all.
Unless he comes out too high on the energy. Unless he comes in there a little bit, not kind of. I'm not gonna say not relaxed, but kind of a little high up because of the energy and the atmosphere. Because you never know till you walk out, right? You've been done to the boxing matches, right? So, like you said, you've seen them big and small, right? You've been in big atmospheres under the big to the big fights, and and so it's a different energy, right? It's a different noise. It's a different
same lights though. Same lights, same platform.
I mean, it could get
you still got to get in the ring.
Hey, They hear those. They hear those. No, they do hear the crowd.
You know what? I liken it unto what happened in Creed. I hate to go Hollywood. You know, everybody know I don't like. I'm not a Hollywood person, but in Creed, you see when he was at that critical fight, they all went into some type of like anime matrix. You know, Michael B. Jordan likes anime, and so they went into this black room. I think that's the mindset. Even though with you try again, you mentioned the pageantry. I think they are going to. They're so focused. They're going to be so focused that it's going to be a black room, a whole bunch of people yelling. You're going to hear it. I don't know if you remember that scene in Creed that everything went black and it was just them two. And it was, and you could hear them taking punches within themselves. I thought that was amazing. And I liken that unto, you know, some key things. I think, you know, there's a lot of messaging going on between, you know, what was Creed, which he had probably had a lot of influence. I don't know. But even the allusion to Hagler-Hearns, you know, with Spence and Derek.
I don't see it starting out that fast. I don't see it starting out like a Hagler-Hearns. I don't see it starting out like that.
Well, but because Crawford is not that type of fighter. He don't come in the ring. He figure you out.
I don't see that. I don't see that happening. But I do see some lightning happening, but not no all-out warfare.
Well, here's what I'm gonna tell you, Donnie. Because you saying it because Bud is a kind of a slow starter. He takes his time to figure you out, right? Now you got a fighter like Spence, who don't. Spence.
He
early.
Trust me, he will.
Tries to break you early. His main mission and goal is to go out there and test and see what you got early, and see if you can take what he got out for the rest of the day. So he packing his lunch pail because he coming in to go to work. It's like he clocking in blue collar, and he gonna come in and go to work.
Right.
And don't hit
you
the
know
clock.
why that. You know why that can afford to happen? You said slow. That can afford to happen because judges, right? So if they have to come to the end of the game, that you have to make a judge. You know, I don't know. You know the technical part of it.
I tell you this.
He can't afford it.
I'll tell you this. Spence is
not can't afford to take no rounds off.
Listen, Spence is not gonna come out there and come full fledged. I promise you he's not. Because if he do, he's gonna be in the war, and it might hurt him.
Crawford cannot afford to take no rounds off.
Crawford can. Hey, look, Bud can lose. He can lose the first 2 rounds and that's why still win that fight.
We could
not when you got the judges involved.
He can lose the first 2 rounds and gonna win that fight.
Done. Get ready to write War 2.
I know. and look, it might be here in Omaha.
Another Hagler-Hearns with the same result.
And it might be here in Omaha.
I mean, it's crazy how they resemble because Hagler-Hearns, they didn't fight the first time. They had to go the second time and fight. They didn't do the first time. And Bud and them last year, they were supposed to fight. They didn't fight or whatever. And they had to, you know, come up to the second time. So the parallels, I think, are just daunting. And
it's like this. They got to get in the ring. Now it's for real countdown. Hours.
But let's say
not weeks and days, not weeks, not months, not years. It's hours away.
Okay, Don. I'm gonna talk to you, Don. I want to ask you a question.
Donnie or Danya?
Don. He threw me out.
There's too many Dons on. You got Don. Yeah. Okay, I'm talking to Don.
And my friends call me Donnie too. So
you Donnie, I'm Don. I mean you Don, I'm Donnie, and that's Danya.
We got 2 Donnies. That's 2 problems. God dang it. But here's what I'm gonna ask you though. You asked me earlier about my take on the fight. I don't know if you and I once again I'm gonna say I'm a fight fan, so I have seen I watch fight. I'm a fight fan, so I watch Crawford. And when there's an opportunity to see him fight, I've been watching him for the past 5 years since he started coming on. And of course I watched Errol Spence. What is your take on the fight, and who do you think in favor? I know we all agree that it's going to be a great fight. You saw the fight going the distance, but I don't think you ever mentioned who you think in favor. Who you Who you thought
Yeah, it really is a tough call for me because both guys just offer a lot. And you know, I know this sounds like I'm hedging, but a lot of times you can't tell how two guys measure up until you really see them in the ring, and then you realize, oh wow, this guy, he's a lot taller than I thought, or you know, or this guy stronger than I thought. You're faster. You never, you know, you talk about Ray Leonard. Everybody always thought, you know, Ray Leonard was a small guy. But when you saw him in the ring with Hagler, suddenly he's like an inch taller than Hagler. You know, he wasn't that small, you know, and he was able to,
and he looked a little thicker.
Yeah, he was able to kind of wrestle Hagler and clinch him a lot. Nobody expected that, you know. So sometimes you can't really tell until you see them side by side. And you know, you mentioned Michael Spinks a while ago, and I had a conversation with Spinks once before he was going to fight Jerry Cooney, if you remember that.
I remember Jerry Cooney
way long ago, and Cooney was very tall, and I remember asking Spinks, and I said, "Is it strange to fight a guy that tall? He's a lot taller than you. You know, how do you feel about that? You know?" And because at the press conference, they were standing side by side, and it really looked like Cooney was a giant, you know.
Yeah.
And Spinks said to me, I'll never forget it. He said, "You know, he looks big now, but when we're in the ring together, it's different. You know." He said it's very different. He might be hunched over, you know. He may not be 6'5" in the ring. He may be hunched down a little bit. He may only be 6'2", you know. You don't really know what things will look like until they're face to face. And a lot of times I don't know what to think until the fight starts. And then I start making my bets. I start making my decisions. Oh, okay. Bud looks stronger. Bud looks quicker. You know, or Spence looks like he's got better timing, or more eye of the tiger, you know, talking about Rocky. You know, sometimes you can't tell. I love Bud, his technique. Bud is really the kind of fighter that I've always enjoyed watching. You know, he's what I call like a real professional. He's a good professional fighter. He knows the fundamentals, and I've always liked that kind of fighter. You know, Spence is like a little more, maybe a little more colorful, a little more flash. It's a hard one for me to pick. I would hate to pick either guy. It's a very close call for me.
So you basically right on the fence, 50-50.
Don, you're with me.
Yeah.
I think we feel the same way. You know, especially operating in two markets, operating in Omaha and operating in Texas or Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm, you know.
And people will say, "Oh, you know, he's just being wishy-washy. He doesn't want to make a firm commitment to either guy." But it's a close fight, and that's why it's so interesting for boxing fans, because it is a very close, competitive fight.
I had barbershop conversations when I was down there. You know, I had barbershop. You know, everybody wasn't for Spence in the barbershop, and they right from Fort Worth.
But they won't get on camera and say it.
Well, they was in the barbershop, but
believe it or not,
it wasn't just one guy. It was, you know.
Hey, I'm tell you, I'm a Crawford fan. I am. I'm a Crawford fan.
Just the other day, my guy said we was in conversation. And he rocking with Spence. I mean, yeah, you know.
Yeah, I'm a Crawford.
That's cool though.
I just say this. I'm gonna say this: styles make fights. At the end of the day, y'all agree to that. We don't know which style is going to impact, and that's the good thing about it. But if I wanted to give the edge and say, hey, I've seen Bud in fights to where he got hit, and I saw how he responded. Well, I saw how he reacted to the hit. I've seen Spence get hit. I saw his reaction to the hit. Spence smiled, Bud crowded and kind of ran.
He kind of ran.
He was
See,
scuffling.
I was rocking with you until you said that.
Well, when I say ran,
Because if he got rocked,
hold on,
he probably shook it off.
Let me
Just
clarify.
like most fighters do.
He got shook.
Spence got shook.
He got shook and he was.
He didn't go right back in there.
He didn't go right back in there. He didn't go right back in there.
He knocked him out.
Go right back in there. Bud was visibly shook, shaking.
Yeah, he was. But guess what he did? He knocked him out.
He won the fight, but I think the round.
No, he knocked him out.
Yeah, but I think that round kind of saved him too, because he got shook. Had it been another 30 seconds left or 45 seconds left in that round, it probably would have ended up him taking a foul, taking a knockdown. One of his knockdowns. And I've seen him getting shaken by one of those other journeyman guys too. He got caught in, I think, in the 8th round.
Which fight? The only fights you could be you're only talking about one fight.
Now Gamboa, and then he got hit in another fight.
He knocked him out.
Yeah, he did. But I'm saying there was another fight he took. I can't remember.
He taking punches. He's
He's
delivering knockout punches.
He's been shaken.
He has.
He's been shaken a couple of times. And
Spence been shaking.
Yeah, but Spence took the punches very well compared to Buck. I'll say
you don't even mean that all that he just said.
Okay. You know what? We're gonna wrap because we got a live coming up on Monday.
I'm just being honest.
We're gonna
go live Saturday
before the fight.
I'm just questioning if Bud would be able to take a Spence punch.
Yeah,
he took Gamboa.
He gonna take.
We all know that Spence is a hard puncher. He's a harder puncher.
Spence ain't gonna be able to hit him like that.
Gamboa,
sometimes the past doesn't really matter.
Right.
A guy might get knocked down. He might get knocked out. It's a different day, and he may come in this weekend bigger and stronger than he was that night that he got rocked, and doesn't always matter sometimes.
Right. That's why I said I'd be interested to see who can take who's punch. Larry Merchant lying about Larry. Yeah, it's like everybody got a plan until you get hit. That's
everybody. What
he said. Everybody got a plan until you get hit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See what happened. See what Bud did when he got hit. His plan got him hit. But what he do? He retreated and went to a different plan and knocked him out.
Yeah, but
Spence ain't got that much in his toolbox. He got a toolbox, but he ain't got that much.
That guy, he had a chance. He had an opportunity to retreat.
My point.
He
knocked him out. He changed his plan.
That opportunity to retreat. He might. The only option he might have is defeat if he get hit by a Spence punch. So run that back.
Okay,
He might not have opportunity to retreat. The other option or opportunity he may have may result in defeat, and that's what I'm gonna say that in the words of Muhammad Ali.
In the words of Muhammad Ali.
So James Craddock said he's still going with Crawford. Period.
Point blank.
But I do want.
Speaking of ages, Bud is 35, Spence 33.
Okay. It's funny, they're both older than Hagler and Hearns.
Right.
Wow.
And this fight had to happen.
That's because they wasn't scared to fight back then. They wanted to fight. They wanted every fight. No matter what situation.
And I think Hagler and Hearns had more fights than Bud and Spence at a younger age.
And they were fighting 15 rounds.
47-0 when he got. How was he, like 47-0 when he got his first belt? Or no, 38-0?
Hagler had almost 50 fights before he even got a title shot.
Yeah, that's what.
Whoa.
It was like 47-0 or something like that. Or no, 47 and like he had lost early in his career.
Hagler had lost twice in Philadelphia.
Twice. Yeah. I remember that.
But yeah, fighters used to have more fights. That's how it was. They weren't making as much money, so they had to fight more often.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want everybody to remember to please subscribe and like and do whatever, so you get a notification. We're gonna work out this Wi-Fi
We're gonna work
situation.
it out.
I'll be.
We're going live Saturday. It's Omaha Day. If you're in Omaha, you know where to go.
Don, you want to check out my live when I go live, because the parade is going to be off the chain with the celebration, with the fanfare that they got in Omaha.
Oh boy.
I'm going to video it Saturday morning, so y'all can. It will be on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. We'll hit all the channels. We'll be out we'll work on our technical problems now. So actually, I had just gotten in off the interstate, and I said, "Ooh, I got to get on this live." And we've been so excited, with your story, your book. And I said, when Derek James mentioned Hagler-Hearns, I immediately thought of you, and I said, "Oh, I wonder if they can get him for us." And I'm going to do a page with all your books, because that's not your only book. You have a lot of other books and a lot of other stories that,
I
especially
have
talking about Boston and the Boston area. You have a lot of great work out there. And so I do eventually want to I'll probably have more of that on Monday, where I can just kind of say, hey, these are the books we've been covering. And this author also have this many books. I wanted to kind of put them up today, but I still can't get my laptop going.
Oh well, I appreciate it. I've written 5 books. Some of them are boxing. There's a true crime book in there too. That if your readers like murder stories, I've got a good one that I did last year. So, but yeah, put them in your window.
I would. You will definitely. I'm telling you. You will definitely get that. We are boxing fans at the Doc Bookshop, and especially because we're next to a boxing gym. Unfortunately, Kendrick, Donnie talked about Kendrick earlier. He couldn't get on. I think Jermaine will probably go live from Kendrick's gym. On Monday. We'll try to see if that happens. I guess it depends on who wins, because they may not be up to it. But James,
Everybody boxing get hit, dude. It's tough to try.
This one is another comment for Trot. Everybody boxer gets hit, dude. Stop hating. He said Trot is hating. Hagler was a beast. This guy.
Is this the guy you told me about? So
the Omaha fans are very serious. I know the Texas fans are very serious, but I think James Bowser with Pan-African Designs, he said, what is the population of Omaha? I am going to have that. He said it probably ain't that big. I think he's assuming that it's not that big, but he's going to see come Saturday morning. I'm going to show you guys how big it is. Jermaine is on mute. I don't know if he's trying to talk to us or something. But I also bought this other book. This is a great book too. It's not yours, but it's a Hitman Hearn. So I got that. Yeah, yep. I got that, and I bought one of Todd's. I'll have it at my trade show tomorrow. So I bought.
Yep, another Hamilcar.
I brought some some books with me when I found out I was coming up to Omaha. So this has been an amazing conversation. I do want to end it on one thing that you alluded to, is the magnitude. Will they be able to handle the magnitude of the fight? And I want to piggyback off of that question. This especially for Jermaine in Texas. If should they not win, will the fans still be loyal? And I piggyback this off of a quote. I think it was a Hagler's quote. He said, when you win, they love you. When you lose, they don't love you anymore. I don't know the exact. Don, you may be able to help me with that question.
He did say something like that many times.
Yeah, they will love you when you win, and they'll hate you when you lose. I really think for a lot of fans, they're gonna love regardless. If we close out on that, I don't know. Will they see things that they thought or believe, and will they retreat or switch sides? That has yet to be seen, to see how loyal fans are in this day and age. So, and I I think there might be some switcheroos depending on who wins. In terms of technique and everything, I think there's going to be some switcheroos that we're going to have to look at.
Well, I hope that the loser gets a better treatment than Tommy Hearns received when he went back to Detroit after losing to Hagler. He was not treated very well. It took a while for the fans to get back on him because it just seemed like if you win, they do love you, and if you lose, they sort of forget you real quick. But I think Spence has such a big following that that might not be an issue. I mean, he's got a massive following.
Oops, go back to it. He wants me to read. I'm sorry. I'm gonna read this real quick. I mean, we could with these boxing men. They'll have you on till midnight.
Yep.
So I never. Okay, I'm reading this right. Right. I never got hit by him, so I don't really know how hard he hits. Oh, this is a quote. Oh, this is Jermaine. This is for you. I never got hit by him, so I don't know how really hard he hits. He's never been hit by me, so he doesn't know how hard I hit. That's
Who's that?
Huh?
Who's that from?
But that's not going to determine a winner or loser. Who punches harder? There's a lot that goes into winning a fight, more than who hits hard. Whoa.
Who said that?
Bud.
He said it to me.
They even go on different styles make good fights. So, this is going to be an amazing conversation. And I just want to say, everybody that's on YouTube, I apologize for the technical difficulty. If you're on Facebook, I know people that are probably watching on Facebook. Again, I apologize if I don't get to your questions. Me and Donnie and I, and probably Jermaine, if you get a chance, we will probably try to address some of those questions that's coming in on the different platforms. And so, again, we are so grateful to everybody's participation, and I'm so happy. I don't think I could show the gym. I don't think we can show it. No, I don't think so, because
I can walk over in there wrestling.
I can't. I won't be able to flip it around. Oh, where did I go? Oh, oops. I won't be able to flip it around.
I can turn the camera.
Okay, so he wants to take you to the gym real quick.
We ain't gotta go to the gym.
Okay. Well, we won't be able to do it because it's not going to go. Okay. Some other time. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this.
I can show my gym.
Huh? What?
We're about to wrap this up, though. I think Trout got out of here.
Are we done?
Yeah, his phone probably died.
You want to say hi to the folks?
I'm on live right now, Tim. But who you rocking with in the fight?
Oh, Crawford all day. We can look at my man right here.
Oh my God!
You got it.
You see it, Don?
It's too bad Jermaine is not there no more.
You see it, Don?
He got
I sure did.
That's Steven Nelson right there.
Yeah, he's a chance.
Shakur Stevens.
It's a fancy gym. A lot of new equipment there.
It's all of them. But we train hard, man. You do what you got to do. And we over here, see, I coach wrestling. Wrestling is my thing.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
And Bud, he in every sport. He does wrestling and all that. Every time the kids is out here on the mat, he come in here, wrestle around with them.
Now wrestling's a tough sport.
It's a tough sport. I'm gonna show you. Now this is our side. This is what I'm involved in. No. See, that's one of my guys. We was out in Reno, Nevada, in this picture right here. Reno, my two guys, they was competing for Wrestler of the Year. All my guys, our accolades. All my guys, 4-time state champion. He on the world team right here. Raymond Perkins.
Wrestling is big in Nebraska.
Yep, very big. And this is a little league team. We coach little league. We coach kids from 5 to. That's me when we won a championship. That match right there. He became wrestler of the year. He won NCAA 2 times. But yeah, this is what we do. So that's why I say sports out here is dynamic. You know, it's one of a kind out here.
Yeah, that's excellent. How many boxers you got training there?
Oh man, Shakur Stevens come down quite a bit. We got some of the boxers come on this side and wrestle around with our wrestlers.
Yeah, you know, they used to do that more often back in the very early days of boxing.
Yeah,
they would have a wrestler in the training camp.
Yeah.
To kind of wrestle around with the boxer to just give him a little variety.
Yep, all of that. But yep, so this is what we do out here.
Oh, that's excellent. Where did Dania go? Did she leave? Is she with you?
No, Dania, she right here.
Oh, okay.
I guess she's gonna end it, but Don, you be cool.
All right, it was nice to meet you.
All right, bye.
All right, good night. I'm glad we were able to work it out after all the technical problems.
Yeah, and I really went in on your book, so I do appreciate it. Thank you so much, and thanks a lot to the publishing company. I really, truly appreciate everything they do for the Dog Bookshop. And
yeah, sure. I always love bookstores. I always try to, if I can get involved somehow in some little way, I always like to get involved.
I'm just pushing for his publishing company to be able to get whatever deals, because this is for the books. This is for history. And I would love for Hagler, I would love for them to get whatever contracts. I don't know how that works, but I'm always pushing that, probably because I think it's easier for me if I can get a book signed if they go somebody I know. So, but yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Don. I will see you soon. Okay.
All right. And enjoy the fight.
All right. Thanks to everybody that tuned in today. Good night.
Bye-bye.
So is both of these things before we go?
I'm still trying to end this broadcast because the Wi-Fi is so